Questlove Show is a production of iHeartRadio. Please welcome today. We're thrilled to have Autumn Durald Arkapaw on the Questlove Show. Thank you for joining us today. How are
Thank
you?
you. No, your voice is so familiar to me. It's like, when you don't know somebody, but you've seen them so much and listened to them, um, makes you feel like you know them, but you don't know them. So it's nice to meet you.
It's not false modesty, but I'm always under the impression that no one knows me, so I'm approaching this as if you never heard of me or don't know who I am,
Mm.
or But yeah, we're meeting. We've never met
I
before,
don't think,
correct?
no, we actually haven't met before. No, the appreciation is ditto. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate that. Um,
Thank you, thank you. My first question to you is: can you describe to me the first 20 minutes of your morning this morning? Your first 20 minutes.
I have a son. He's 9 years old. Um, when my husband's also a DP, when we're both in town, it is my job to get up and do all the things that you would to get a child ready. So I woke up and I did set an alarm because I just got back from SCAD Film Festival, um, where we got to screen Sinners and talk about it. So I woke up, I woke him up, I got his lunch ready, I got his breakfast ready. He has long hair, so I brushed his hair.
Mhm.
Um, and I chased him out the door, and his father took him to school. And then I rushed to get ready for this Zoom. And then that's
Thank
what
you.
it
I
was.
appreciate it.
And that's what it was.
Okay, so as a child who grew up with parents that did the same thing for a living,
Oh, mhm,
um, I got tricked into the family business.
mhm.
Both my parents were singers. By the time I was born, they were nightclub lounge acts. So yeah, in the 70s, I was there from like 5 until really when the roots started. So like from age 5 till 18, I got tricked into the family business, mostly because they didn't trust the idea of a babysitter wasn't a thing until the late
Yeah.
80s.
Hmm.
So in the 70s, it's like farm work. And I'm in a nightclub at 1 in the morning, like operating lights, cutting gels, monitors, all those things. Um, if both of you do the same thing, like, does that mean, is there a hope that there's a kind of creative epigenetic passing of the torch to him? Like, are you leaving Camry equipment, his version of my first Sony, like,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I mean, I think for me, the allure is if he does have an interest when he's, say, 13, 14, in operating a camera, then I get to be close to him because we only have one child. Um, and then I could bring him with me on all my jobs, right? So if he's really into it, it just allows me to spend time with him because, when we make these films, as you know, when you do music, you're away for long periods of time. You have to juggle life and, schedules. So he is interested. I wouldn't say it's like his top thing. He's kind of a builder. He likes building stuff, but he did bring his camera because he has a nice camera to his camping trip recently and made a bunch of videos. And he was the only kid doing it. So it's there. I'm just not, on the cusp. It's just like maybe it'll take off. Maybe.
What was your first creative project in life?
That's a really good question. Um, what I can remember the most, I think, is being in high school and they have the labs, the photography labs. The
Yeah.
first time I felt like ownership of something that I made was the black and white photography class I took and having to go out there, the assignment, like go take some pictures, whatever you like go talk to some people. And I remember taking a bunch of pictures and I still have them printed in a book. They're black and white. And I felt like a sense of power because I had made something, but also it was my own, right? It was my perspective. I've never been asked that, but it immediately came to mind. So I feel like it had to be that class because that was the first time I think I did anything. Like I wasn't a painter. I wasn't good at drawing. So that photography class I think was important in like, I guess that would be like ninth grade.
Okay. What year was that? Do you remember?
Whew. Let's call it 94, 1994, 95.
Before then, was there a passion for photography? Were you reading magazines and seeing like Herb Ritts or Annie Leibovitz or any like? Did you have a North Star for photography?
It's interesting because I don't have anyone like my mom works in business. She always traveled a lot. She raised me. It was just me and my mom. I'm just myself, and she was
Hmm.
a single mom until she remarried and when I was in eighth grade. But as far as like she would take me to films, we would go to museums. I always had art around me, but my grandparents, my mother's side's Filipino, and she was born in England, and he was in the service, and they traveled the world for his job. Like he would be stationed in London, and then he would go to the Americas in New York, and they always had my grandmother always took photographs. I can't show you right now; it's on a wall, but a lot of the photographs are black and white photographs where they're center punched and it's just like single shots of like my grandmother in New York or my grandmother in London. And they were always around, like my mom always had them around, and that must have had an impact because till this day, like the way that I frame, I find that there's similarities. But that's like the first relationship I had with photography before doing art history in LMU undergrad, where you're learning about, Rothko, where you're learning about Eggleston, and then you're more versed in it. But they always had photos around our house growing up.
You went to LMU?
I did. I went to LMU for undergrad. Yeah.
Okay. I got over a major despite my Questloveness. I have a major fear of public speaking
Really? Really?
and kind of a therapeutic challenge. This was like December of the year before in 2024. My therapist was like, she knew that I was like, no was my favorite word when it came to hey Quest, come speak to the kids. Hey Quest, you want to talk to these like I was always a no person. Like I'm down to like DJ, anything that lets me have a barrier.
Mm.
My drum set, my turntables, writing a book. I can talk all day, but when it's like one on one, um, and so it just so happened that LMU had given me an offer to speak to the graduating class, and I begrudgingly did it. Weird enough, I made it about me by just telling that class how scared I was to do this, and somehow it
Yeah.
became like
When was that?
inspirational.
Obviously before the podcast, like before you did
This
more.
year,
Oh, really?
no,
Oh,
this
really?
year, yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, doing the podcast. Well, okay, previously with the podcast, I had four other co-hosts with me.
Mm.
Like I like community work, but when it's like one on one, that's like that's too much intimacy. Um, so even this is more or less like a somewhat cathartic therapeutic
Yeah, I was
exercise of
gonna
just
say, yeah. I like that no
no,
thing. That makes
I
sense.
specifically wanted to talk to people like one that I didn't know like the back of my hand and
Hmm.
kind of two strangers meeting. So, what is your favorite childhood memory from your home? When you think of your childhood, like it doesn't have to be in a major event like, oh, that time we went to Disneyland or whatever, but just like what's your version of a happy moment from your childhood?
Get me all emotional and shit. Um, I think it's mostly like it was always me and my mom, um, together. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
What what traits of yours do you think that you've gotten from your parents, either creative or personal?
Um, I think she's pretty resilient and very determined person. Um, and so I think being raised by someone and always listening to her on the phone and doing her business work because she does international trade business and interacting with people. I was always worried about her, I think, early on, going out by herself because you become kind of the caretaker, if it's just you and
Mhm.
her. Um, so yeah, I mean, she's pretty tough. So I always tried to follow in those footsteps. And yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time together, it's just us two. Like, I grew up in Northern California.
What city specifically?
Well, we first started out in San Leandro. I lived in Hayward as well.
Okay.
Um, Bay Area, near Oakland. And we had a little apartment, so I shared a room with her early on. And then she moved me to Danville, which is a less diverse community, to go to a better school because it had a really good public school program. So you kind of
Mhm.
move from like a diverse area into, I was probably the only mixed race kid. Maybe there were a couple black people, maybe a couple Asians, but it was way, nicer environment for her to be okay with like single parenting and having good education. Um, but that's my favorite. Yeah, I think just spending time with her because I'm that quality time kind of person, that just
Uh,
that fills me up. Yeah.
All right. So, you said that you were a parent. Is there a trait of yours that you feel like you've passed onward to your child?
Yeah, I think my husband and I are always telling him like, and I believe it because I think my mom told me, but you can do anything you want to do. You really anything that inspires you, anything that you feel in your bones that you know, make sure we're there to help you with that, but also that like you have the ability to do that. Um, and I think I was told that my husband grew up in a very supportive, he's Australian, but he has a big family, a very loving family. And I do feel like I reiterate that to my son a lot. Um, you know, yeah.
So, is it true that a friend of yours gifted you or purchased you a cinematography
Oh
class
yeah.
at UCLA?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I haven't emailed him for a while, but when I graduated LMU, I got a job working in for AOL Time Warner. I was a temp, I had to like graduate, get some money, and I got a temp job through a friend. And I had to input, like, you remember when AOL had banners? Like it was the early
Yeah,
stages, and the banners would pop up all over the place, like on the sides and the top. And it would be
I miss
like,
AOL.
right? Like buy this car, buy this Honda. I used to put
Right.
together spreadsheets for those banners and support someone who was doing auto sales online. Um, so I had a cubicle at a desk and I would do that. I would input all the stuff and, a nice little paycheck. And I just started to be interested in cinematography. And I remember telling him, and his father owned ELS, which is one of the biggest lighting companies that works with the premieres or big events around Los Angeles. So there's like this weird through
Mhm.
line. And he's like, you know what? And then on the side, he's like, you know what? I'll help you buy that class. Like I looked into a night class. So when I would get off work, I would go to UCLA for the cinematography class. It was like a little semester class. And I would learn
Mhm.
what being a DP meant. I did the class, I loved it. And then I decided to quit. And he got me a job working at ELS to help lay the red carpet and put up the lights for the premieres. So I did like Mission Impossible, Devil Wears Prada. You were on the night shift. So I don't know if you've been to a premiere a little early, but you see people crawling around, taping up the carpet, putting the lights up.
Totally.
I did that.
Because I'm the DJ that they'll hire sometimes for events.
Oh, yes, of course.
So I'll have to be there early to
Early.
set up. And I'm very much familiar with, like, I love how the sausage is made in
Yeah.
any, thing that I go to. So,
Yeah.
wow. So as much, I will say that, oftentimes when I'm metaphorically describing what I think the roots role is in music, like oftentimes pioneers are the people that might lay out the lay of the land, roll the red carpet, set everything up, and the second person that comes is the person that really benefits
Mm.
and gets
Yes.
the accolades And to me, the most fascinating thing about being at 30 Rock, be it like SNL or the Tonight Show or the other shows shot there, is that you're just inside the ecosystem of watching them build
Yes.
and create constantly. Um, so okay, well, that's what I wanted to know. Was the desired destination always cinematography? Um, and I ask this because, had I had a redo and, my passion for film started at the age of 5 and onward, I probably would have wanted to be an editor. Like I'm in
Mm,
love with Thelma Schumacher, like well, just with making music, and even now, like I probably micromanage my editors more than anything
mhm.
because all my editing has to be in a specific rhythm as if it were a DJ gig. Like everything I do is like a DJ gig. But for you, is the end game to be director producer, or a couple steps before the top of the penthouse? Is that your comfort zone?
No, I mean, my comfort zone is definitely where I'm at. I mean, I get asked a lot, I think being a female DP at this level, because there aren't that many of us shooting this level of film
Hmm.
historically. So the question comes up a lot, well, are you interested in directing? And I think why that is because you get to a point on set where you're very versed in how a set's run. You're next to the director all the time. I work with, I do the big budget films with a lot of VFX. So they always just imagine, okay, well, you must be interested in directing now, and I think it's an interesting thing because I've now gotten to the point in my career where you're you've worked so hard as a female DP to be able to do those things, and then now they're already trying to like ask you to go this direction. So I hear that question a lot, but I'm so I think passionate about the way things are shot and lighting that I could never give that up. Right. So it's easy for me to position myself. And Ryan's like, hey, do you want to do this Rihanna video? That's up my alley because it's music related, it's beauty related. I get to work one on one with uh, a star and make them look beautiful and make them feel comfortable. But no, I think I'm lucky to have found a partner in Ryan because we have similar tastes and we like the same things and I understand him really well. But
Hmm.
to do his job, like it is a very, very difficult position to be in, as you know. I I don't have a story that's like so in my bones that I have to tell, and only I'm the only one that can tell it. Not yet. Maybe in the future there is something that only I can tell as a director. But I really do enjoy supporting him and the other directors I work with because, um, as you know, it's a very complex job, like to do everything.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions to
Yeah.
that. Well, number one, you mentioned Rihanna's "Lift Me Up" video.
Mhm.
Um, what was the creative decision behind doing that handheld
Mm.
as opposed to Crane and this
Yeah.
this Rihanna? Like that, I feel like every director has their Lawrence of Arabia dream of like or Citizen Kane, like the sprawling opening scene thing.
Mm.
And handheld is more of a raw, personal, intimate things. But what was your decision behind shooting it that way?
Yeah, we had a crane that we used, the if you the opening is a water shot. We shot some more stuff that I didn't use with the like wide shots of the water before we went into intimate stuff. So that was done on a crane to kind of crawl over the sand. But I mean, I came up in indies. I came up shooting music videos, fashion films that didn't have any money. So when you have a camera in your hands and it is an extension of yourself and your point of view, that's how you learn to find where the camera needs to be, right? And so I'm very much an operator. I've operated most of my films, all the stuff that I do. So when I'm having to be in a situation where light is falling quickly. I want to be with her. I want her to move freely and do what she wants, but I also want to capture and get the right shots. Then you want to take as much control as you can, right? I don't want to worry about it being on a dolly and moving the dolly. Then I have to worry about the dolly grip. Then I have to worry about all this stuff. So I put it in my hands, so I have the most control, and I'm most intimate with her. Similar to Last Showgirl, with Pamela, like being close to the woman so you can move with her and find her beauty easily. Um, from what do you think?
In general, well, I want to know how much leeway or access or preparation are you given to uh, your subjects that you're going to film? Like, how do you even map out the choreography of how you're going to shoot that? What their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, or is this just taking direction from your director and you executing?
I think the best thing that you can do is work with people that allow you to exercise your creativity and have trust in you, right? When I work with Gia, we started out running around. We shot Palo Alto. We're running around with a bunch of kids with their friends. Um, she's my best friend, so we talk every day. So now, but it's someone I know really well, and I know what they like, and I know where they want the camera. It's intuitive. Like I choose people to collaborate with that, we have that connection. So when it's with her, there's a lot of trust in camera, that she gives me, and that's why that kind of relationship works. Also with that scene, I remember you have to be the best thing you can be as a DP is quick to make decisions and have solutions. So I remember I didn't have any prep there. I think Gia came up and said, Jamie wants to dance on that thing in the middle of the casino. Like we
Right.
have some time, in between like some other scene we were shooting. She wants to dance. She's gonna dance to this song. We're gonna shoot it. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I tell my gaffer like to position the light in a good spot. I just evaluate, that kind of podium that she wanted. I picked a direction. I said I'm gonna shoot it from here because it was the best direction for lighting. And I moved a little bit of a key light for her. And then we just let her do her thing, and I captured it, while she was dancing and handheld, and that was it. And I think there are a lot of those types of moments that in a film like that, because you want to be free and vulnerable to like what the actor may want to do, but you also want to um, get those moments that the director wants. Because Gia loves those non-communication moments where it's just following women around and letting them, like Pamela, we went on the parking lot on a weekend and Pamela just started dancing around and being funny and cute, and we just captured it. So there's a lot of that.
So for you though, how how do you decide the thin line of what would be deemed an unflattering shot, um, but staying true to uh, what's needed to really make that film come alive? Because of course, a lot of us know Pamela Anderson for like all these slow motion glam shots and everything's perfectly edited and whatnot. But for you, like how aware of you on how this has to look to make this film come alive?
Yeah, I think we had been discussing it, Gia and I, for a long time prior to when we actually ended up shooting it. She was always looking for someone to be vulnerable and not like have a lot of makeup on, to not go through makeup at the top of the day, and because that can be time consuming, to just be themselves, right? To just be
Right.
raw. And so that was the directive. That was someone she wanted to play it. We knew that we didn't have a lot of money to make this film. We knew that we'd make it with a small group with friends on film. It would be very intimate where we would have all the control. And that was the most important thing because we made a film before that where we didn't have as much control, and we wanted to make a film where we had control. She has all the control, I have all the control, and we make it. And that's very rare, as you know. it shouldn't be rare, because we're the filmmakers and we both have director in our title, but it does happen, and it's unfortunate when you don't. So with this film, it's very much our retelling of that story, which is nice. Like you can watch it and only you made those mistakes. You weren't forced into anything. So I think as you know, Pamela, I mean, she's just amazing. And same with Jamie. It's like they're okay with just being themselves. They're at that point where they're so confident in who they are that it's just, I mean, it's so enlightening to be able to shoot women like that, right? And so they put their trust in you that you know what it should be lit like, you know where the camera should be. So for that, like I wanted to have a lower like kind of footprint, which meant using a lot of available light, which meant going into spaces using a lot of practicals, and then just how I exposed it. You just need to know your exposure, right? What you can push and what you can't. And that's just like having experience and trial and error, I think, in the spaces. So, and then you, as a woman, like I know where the beauty shots are. You know what someone will look powerful or where the camera needs to be. And then I also made lenses for that picture. So Panavision and I made some lenses that had never been made before, anamorphic 16 lenses, because I couldn't find any lenses that I liked. So we made
Hmm.
some. So it has a very particular look that I feel is very flattering because it's very soft, old vintage glass. But I detuned it in a way that has a lot of fall off and is more dreamy. So that also helps when you're thinking about how this should look, to pair the film stock with a beautiful lens, which also in turn, I think, as you know, like lighting and lensing are in conversation with each other. The lighting can only look great if the camera's in the right position, and it depends on what that lens is. So yeah, it was very thought through, but always with the intention of having a small footprint, and not getting in the way of the process.
What is your attraction to the anamorphic style of shooting? Like, did you see it happen before, or are you in a place where you're just like, I want to push forward the things that I'm not seeing that I wish I seen?
No,
Like,
I
what was your attraction to it?
Yeah, it was, well, see, I went to AFI, so it's a playground for you to explore and ask questions, and you have access to like camera houses and stuff. So early on, before AFI, I was in love with the format because I saw films like Manhattan, The Last Emperor. These films are shot on anamorphic. They have a lot of scope, and I didn't exactly knew like the logistics of that format at the time, but it was like, what am I responding to that makes me feel like this is cinematic? What is this? Like, because I saw a similarity in this format, right? You have twice the field of view, faces look different. And then when I was at film school, I looked into it more and started shooting my own anamorphic. And then you figure out how to use the format. But for me, it's just something that I think early on when I was researching filmmaking, I was responding more to film shot in anamorphic. And now it's just like kind of my thing. But I don't push it on directors. That's the thing. The director has to want to shoot in that format. Um,
Okay.
you don't want to like push them into it if they're not into it.
From 1 to 10, what is your tolerance level for a micromanaging director versus someone that just lets you have the space to do what you do?
I mean, I do not
Okay,
want to work
let
with
me
someone
make it
who's
easier for you.
micromanaging. Yes, yeah.
No, no, let me make it
No.
easy for you. Have you had an experience with a micromanaging director that's
Yes.
always on? Oh, damn, you didn't even let me get okay.
Uh,
And the opposite, where you're given the leeway to show what you know in your education and it works out fine. Like you've been on both sides of the fence.
the thing about it is when you get to a point where you feel like you have something to offer, right? And you can relate in music where it's like you have something to say. It's inside, it's in your bones. And the people that recognize that and see it in you and see it in your work and then ask you to come break bread with them and join their family and say, you know what, I see that magic. And I want you to join me to help me tell this story. Because only you can be the person to tell it. And those are the people that I want to work with. And I've been lucky enough to work with those people, like a Gia, like a Ryan, even with Spike, like, even though it was in a movie, like he was very much like these are very collaborative people. They're very talented people, and they have their own point of view, and they know how to kind of explain it to you. And then they
Hmm.
want to collaborate with you, right? So they have a vision that they hand off to you, that you work together with them, and it's very clear. And it's a great relationship. And on the other hand, I've been in a situation where I think I've been hired because of my work, but then when we get to the point at which I need to execute and help them, they want to micromanage me. And so I'm not even allowed to get that out, right? So it doesn't really I thought, it's already a conflict because it's like, come play this music. Oh wait, don't play that. Like, well, then, motherfucker, why am I here? Why am I, you know what I mean? It's like, uh, so I
Now
don't,
you're from the Bay Area. I
yeah.
was waiting for Hella or motherfucker. All right, good.
So, so I'm like, I think for me, I don't put myself in those situations anymore. Life is too short. I have a family. I have to be away. And that's what's so beautiful with Ryan. It's like, we go and we make these films. Wakanda took a year long, and it's like he protects my time. He protects the effort that I put in. I know it will be worthy. I know I will be respected. I know that I will be able to collaborate on the highest level. So I tend to look for that opportunity because it is hard as an artist to just be told no all the time, or the trust isn't there, or not being able to be brave. Like I want to work with brave people. I don't want to work with restricted people, like scared people. Does that answer? Not going off on
Yes,
a
it answers.
tangent.
Nah, no, talk your shit. Talk your shit. Yeah, I like that. All right. If you were to recommend me three films, uh, that probably touches you the most, what would those three films be?
Hannah and Her Sisters. It's a Woody Allen film. Um, The Last Emperor, Bertolucci, and Barry Lyndon, Kubrick. Have you seen any of those?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
See, well, that's great. Yeah, it's not a lot. Some people say like, "Oh, I haven't seen Last Emperor," but that means yeah, cinephile, I suppose. Yeah.
I lived on a tour bus for 20 plus
Oh
years,
yeah.
and so and the thing is, yeah, I'm not gonna just pretend that we were, all these Criterion Collection nerds. It was definitely it just became the point where we got tired. I got tired of watching Friday and Juice and Scarface on the tour bus. So, eventually I made it my job. I live in the East Coast, so in Philadelphia, New York, there's independent places like a TLA Video or Kim's Video where a lot of those, and even when I go to to LA, like going to Rasputin's or going to Sunset Boulevard, they just shut down.
The
Large record
oh the
store.
Tower, like it used to be Tower Records, and it turned into Amoeba.
Well, there's
Yeah.
this tower, but also Amoeba
Yeah.
also. Yeah, and then that's when, I discovered, oh, Criterion Collection, and now I want to watch, things that I haven't seen before. Well, I'll ask you,
Mm.
not gun to your head, but I'll ask you, are you a a Criterion person or a Tubi person?
Ooh, to be honest, I haven't I didn't do the deep dive on Tubi yet. And Criterion, I think I was after college, but now I'm just like, Apple TV, which doesn't give you any of the extras, obviously. Um,
Ah, don't you hate that? Yeah.
well, but I'm not gonna lie to you, like, and I've talked a lot about this with my husband. The more and more you shoot movies or work on film sets, unfortunately, the less and less you watch movies, especially how they're made, because I mean you're there, you start to, you get to a point where, but I did when I was coming up, like A Thin Red Line is another one that I'd add to that three, where I remember
Mhm.
watching the Criterion of A Thin Red Line to find out, how they made that. And I was just blown away because I didn't know anything at the time. So I think it was more alluring when I didn't know stuff.
I have to rapid fire you on your profession.
Hmm.
Um, for start, I always wanted to know this. Okay, for the Aziz special,
Hmm.
whose idea was it? I was just so obsessed with the diagonal framing of that special, the way uh just the unorthodox framing of it. I don't even know what to call that particular type of. Can you just walk me through just the
Sure.
creative? Because the thing is also like with comedy specials,
Mm.
like is it that deep? And somehow when I saw it, I was like, whoa, this is a really unusual way. I think it almost took away from me laughing at the comedy because I was so taken aback by the visual of it, the showing of the backstage as he's talking, and like just talk me to like the creative of that special.
Okay. So Spike and I met because he wanted to do a music video that didn't end up happening. And so then that was the first, we did that before Beastie Boys.
Who was it for, by the way?
You know who it's for, but I forget.
You can't say.
No, but if I remember, but you would know. Like,
Okay.
but it's escaping me now, like someone important.
Okay.
And I was very excited. We went and scouted it. It didn't happen. Um, and so then we did Aziz together. And what was cool about it was Aziz was performing in Manhattan Beach in a smaller comedy club,
Hmm.
down by the beach. And so that was our first kind of, you know, I guess dress rehearsal. So Spike took me down there. I met him there. He had a camera on his back the whole show. And this is like hour and a half, I guess, hour and a half show. And I had a camera on my back, digital, and we shot the show as like a dress rehearsal of like, let's see how we vibe with Aziz. And this is something Spike wanted to do to kind of see the angles that would be good. It's not the space that we were going to shoot it, but it was kind of just learning, like a learning process. And what was so funny was, having a camera on your back for an hour and a half is a pain in the ass. But I remember thinking like, well, Spike's doing it. I'm not taking this camera off my back. You know what I mean? Like, because we were rolling the whole time. We rolled the whole show, and it just forced you to kind of find perspectives and angles that were interesting, because it is when you hold on an angle for a long time, it can get boring, and then it makes you think about where's a better angle. So you're always one-upping yourself trying to figure out what those angles are, but you're also keeping an eye on the other operator to see where they are, right? So you can kind of dance with each other.
And it's only the two of you,
There's only two of us. So that was
and
our
you didn't do a pre. This is my zone. This is your zone.
I think that was the point of that dress rehearsal. Like we definitely, because it was a long time ago, we definitely had a talk when we went into the space, right? It's an empty comedy space. We knew he would be on stage, he'd have a little stool. And then Spike obviously was like, okay, well, I think this or that, because I remember adjusting some lights. So there was a conversation about it. But I think in the moment when you're trying to move around, you also have to just like think on your feet too. Even though we would say like, okay, I'll take this side or that side. Because I allowed him, like I think, you want to make sure you're not stacking up. And sometimes I think he might have told me like we can go to the audience. Sometimes I'll stay on him, watch me. If I stay on him, then you go here. So there's a conversation that you would have with that operator. And so that was our dress rehearsal. Then fast forward, we're in New York. I believe is Brooklyn, right, where we shot that. And we also did a dress rehearsal there, but we're shooting on film. And he wanted, I think, in conversations with Aziz, they wanted to shoot it on film. And one of the biggest references I think Spike gave me was those old Richard Pryor shows that were shot on 16. So I watched those. Obviously it made sense to me, but it was a tall order because shooting, I think we had six cameras, um, shooting simultaneously, knowing when you have to change the mag so you don't miss a beat on each angle, right? You have to coordinate all of that. It's like going to war, right? You have to like you have your troops, you have this, you have that. So it was a lot of prep in the sense like I remember with Spike, he's very specific, but also he wants to try things. So like we would set
Mhm.
the camera up in different zones, and we would figure out, obviously you looked at eyepiece, we'd figure out if that was the right zone, and then we mapped it out. We also did a lighting test where we lit the backstage. We tried some things, we developed it, we watched it to see if he liked it. So there was a lot of prep, I would say, in that sense, because when you take it to film, accidents can happen. So you need to be on top of your game and make sure all the operators and all the mag switches are on time. We had all the monitors set up, HD tap, and I would, you're doing a little bit of coordination. Spike did operate the on-stage camera
Hmm.
for one of the shows, I believe. Um, and I think we shot 2 nights. Am I tripping? Maybe. But yeah, I mean, it was all coordinated. And so, I think it was nice to do that smaller show with him, but he wanted it to feel alive, right? He wanted it to have the texture and the kind of quality that came from those old Richard Pryor shows, where you
Got it.
can feel the grain alive. And so yeah, there was a lot of discussion. But we got very lucky. I mean, I wouldn't say we had like a bunch of jams or, because that shit is like you're sweating. Trust me, you're sweating.
I like I immensely enjoyed. Like I wish like concert films were shot that way.
Oh,
Like I
cool. Yeah.
just it was just a very Spike is an idol of mine. Like
He's so fun. Like I would say that, right? It's like it was fun to work on and it's fun to watch because he creates that environment when you're making a
mhm.
film. Like, let's just do this. Let's go here. Let's, like I'm an operator and it was fun. So you're not wrong. Yeah.
So I experienced Sinners. Flew out to LA. My preferred destination points in Los Angeles is either the New Beverly
Okay.
to watch movies and Vista House to watch, um, both owned by Quentin Tarantino. Um, so I pretty much from not since I was a child, I come from also a place where, um, before the VCR, you would go to a movie house at 11 in the morning and just stay all day,
Crazy. Yeah.
sometimes watching two, three times in a row a film because you're like, there's no way I'm gonna see this ever again in life. Um, and I watched Sinners three times in a row.
What are you
Like
talking about? What?
I was obsessed.
That's amazing. I love it.
I was obsessed. So, how much experience did you have with the large format 65 millimeter? Um, well, one, that format, but also is it with IMAX, like is 65 millimeter the same, or is it two different sort of cameras that you have to operate at once?
Yeah, no, so it's the same negative running through both cameras, but in different ways. So two different cameras, like you just said. Um, the anamorphic format is the widescreen, which is that 276 Hateful Eight format that people are
Yeah.
familiar with. And that is a 65 millimeter negative running vertically through a camera, which is a Panavision camera called a System 65 camera. Um, that camera is very heavy. That camera is not necessarily a handheld camera, right? It's a studio camera. It's on a dolly or whether it's on a crane or stuff like that. There's a high speed version of that that allows you to shoot high speed that's a little bit lighter that we put on a Steadicam sometimes. For instance, the oneer that goes and follows uh, Mrs. Chow across the street and her daughter in the grocery store scene. So that's Steadicam. And then you have the IMAX camera, which is 65 negative, same negative, but it's going through the camera horizontally and it's 15 perfs, not 5 perfs. So much bigger negative um, real estate, different camera. So that's IMAX camera. I had not shot any of these before. And neither had my team. So Ryan,
First
myself,
timer,
yeah. Yeah.
not even for Black Panther was that used at
No,
all.
so when you see, that's the thing, I think what was so great about Ryan's video where he explained all the formats is that a lot of people get a bit confused about when they go see an IMAX film, if it's digital IMAX or if it's film IMAX. The only team that we're familiar with, like you and I, that are shooting this format would be Hoyte and, well, Christopher Nolan and Hoyte. And then obviously Wally Pfister with The Dark Knight was the first IMAX film I went to see at the City Walk. And so
Mhm.
like that's the filmmaking team that's shooting film IMAX. A large format that goes in between the formats. So when it came time to do this, we did our own testing, but it's not available to everyone. To be honest, those cameras that we use, there's only four of them for the system cameras. So it's not like multiple movies can be shot at the same time, because those are the cameras that are used. So if that team is not using those cameras, then we were lucky enough to get to use those cameras. So yeah, so that's the format thing. And we did, yeah, it came up. I don't know if you read, but Ryan originally saw it as a 16 millimeter picture. Um,
I
I
can't
know
even
that's
imagine.
what we were supposed to do it as. That's why I made those lenses for Last Showgirl, because I was kind of thinking ahead and thinking like, oh, let me test these out, and then we can use them on that film because we shot right after. But then obviously Ryan upped the ante as he does. And we tested 35 and then we tested large format. And
So yeah, how much rehearsal do you get before it's the it has to be intimidating, no? Like are mistakes allowed?
I mean, I go back to that question you asked me before about my lane. I don't like how you said public speaking, you get nervous and stuff. Like, I would assume when you're
Mhm.
in your element and you're playing music, like that is your space. And I feel very confident in what I do and when I'm doing. That's where I feel most comfortable. Prep is a pain in the ass, right? When you do all the tests and you have to like figure everything out. That's very tedious. But if you put a camera in my hand and I now know how to use it, game on, right? So I think for us, we always have on movies, let's call it like 8 to 12 weeks of prep. That's just rough number, but you have a lot of weeks to go over this stuff. You do not have 8 to 12 weeks of prep to just mess around with the camera because obviously there's a cost to that prep, right? So say you prep that kind of camera package for 5 weeks, something like that. So what that means is you're at the camera house, your ACs are at the camera house. They're testing the lenses that you want to use. We're running film through all of the magazines through the camera. We're looking at the film gate. We're doing shutter tests. So there's a lot of logistics that go into like making sure that these cameras are going to behave properly. You have a lot of technicians that are helping you do that. Um, and I always feel like for me, I said this to the students recently, when I came up in film school, I didn't know as much as everybody else, so I was learning from a bunch of people. Most of them were men. And I hated the feeling when someone was staring at me, looking me in the eyes, saying like, "Well, I don't understand what you're saying. Like, I don't know what you want me to do." Like, you're they were forcing me to like figure out how to explain what I wanted, how I wanted the lighting to look, how I wanted to move the camera. And I felt very uncomfortable, right? And you can imagine like there's not, many of us. So I vowed to not have that happen to me throughout my career. So I had to go out, always make sure I knew the cameras, always make sure I knew exactly what I wanted for lighting. And I learned. So I'm a very technical person. So I make sure that my shit is tight because I don't want anyone staring at me and being like, well, I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. I don't know what you want. Um, so I find that like when I have that prep time, it becomes like a very tedious thing where I'm working with my team, making sure that like I know the shit so that when we get on set and it's like D-Day, like you say, that nothing can
Mhm.
get in the way of Ryan telling his story, that all the people that I've brought, to support him, the focus pullers, the G&E, everyone is tight. Then that gives us the creative, freedom to do what we want. So we're not having mistakes happen.
In that situation, how are you adaptable to freestyling
Mm,
or your plan B, your plan C in case something goes awry? Like is that also a part of the process of doing this?
yes. No, 100%. Because I think what Ryan loves to do too, um, and I appreciate this, is like in prep, we board everything. He wanted to board the whole film, so we boarded it. We do previs for the most complex sequences, like the musical Oneer or the train sequence, stuff that we need to like guide a bunch of different teams, but also see ahead of time how it's going to plan out so we know how we're shooting it. But it doesn't mean that when we get there, we don't change it. And that's what I love is like you have a plan because you have to with that many people and this complex stuff we're doing, but we can throw it out if we want to because we're in the space. Michael B. Jordan is, we're doing a blocking with him, and all of a sudden, the sun's coming in, or you see these special moments that you want to, adapt quickly to because the actor is now in the actual space giving you shit in the rehearsal. So you don't want to stick to maybe what you thought of on the page in an office like 6 weeks ago.
Right.
So yeah, we adapt, and I love that about Ryan because we have a plan, but we also like feel it out as well, and that's where you can get extra stuff or you can have different versions of things. But no, I think the more you know, the more you can play jazz on set, right? Like if you prep your shit tight before, then you can be more free flowing and not be erratic, I guess.
I would assume that um that music sequence, it was awesomely executed. One, I can't even imagine what it looked like on. That's one of the things we're obsessed about, where it's like, how did that look on page? Because I feel like what was captured wasn't specifically written on page. Like it just, I would like to think that was a moment for you. Was that the hardest sequence to shoot, or I'll ask you, what was the most difficult sequence to shoot in that film?
Yeah, it wasn't that one. I answered this once because I think someone asked me when I was talking about IMAX on something. And well, to go back to how it was beautifully written. But something like that is written in description, right? Because it's so like ethereal and surreal. And so when I first read it, it has so much imagination. So you read it, it makes you think like on your own by yourself, right? When you read it. And then I have a meeting with Ryan, and then he's explaining what he wants to do with it, right? How it makes him feel, what um what his drive is for the scene, and then that's when it starts to fill itself out, and then you have meetings about it. He also did some
Mhm.
rough drawings boards, prior to us fleshing it out fully. So I kind of, after you see those, you have a bit of an idea of what he wants. But it is a kind of, it evolves, but based off of what he read. If you read that, which I'm sure the script will come out at some point, um
Mhm.
it's beautifully written. And so it is actually that cool on the page, but visually, I think it turned into something much greater, obviously. But no, I think for me, the hardest scene was the last scene that we shot,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
the fight in the river, the
Yeah.
night fight. And I think for
Mhm.
me, why I say that's the hardest is because number one, it's night shoots. Those are always difficult. But when there is VFX involved, I find it difficult because with VFX, we try to get as most as we can in camera, but there's a lot of stuff that's being done way later, right? And as a DP on set, you want to know what that's going to look like. You want to know how they're going to manipulate the image. You want to know the kind of the path that it's going. And so when I don't
Mhm.
have control, that's when I find it difficult because I need control. Um, so that scene, I think in itself was more complex because we did some work on it. Obviously, we did most of it in camera. We did burn him, but you can see there's a lot of collaboration between makeup, VFX, the actors, how we shot it. So that was the trickiest thing for me, I think, because it has an evolution. There's a fire tornado, all this stuff like that.
Where did you watch it for the first time with an audience?
A real audience. I mean, I don't want to call it real because it was the premiere. You know how premieres are. I wouldn't say
Right.
that's
But
a
did
real
you
audience.
go to see it with non-industry people? Like,
I did after the premiere. So I would say the first time I saw it, well, the first, we watch it 100 million times because we're doing the QC. I got to watch the print. I got to do the HDR. I got to watch the digital projection. So I see it a bunch with Ryan
so
QC in
you're
it.
tired of it?
Well, no, I don't. I think a film like this, you aren't because it makes you so happy.
Hmm.
It speaks to you, like it speaks to your history, your culture, your family, your relatives. So I didn't have a problem with it, like watching it a bunch of times. I was very proud, you're proud of it. So you're like, when you watch it, you're like, but but no, I watched it with a regular crowd, in quotes, regular at the premiere in New York. And then the first time I really watched it was at City Walk. I went to City Walk, and I watched it with a real crowd. Um, and I think I get emotional every time I watch it.
I assume that the X Files are next, right?
Yeah. Mm.
How familiar were you with the series before you signed on to it? Like, were you an obsessive, or like, what was the process of tackling that?
Yeah, it's that word came to my head right when you said it. I was not. I was and am not. My mom loved that show. It's funny because I think Ryan said something in the media recently that he's making it for his mom, or like that, she really loved that show, so he wants to do right by her. But my
That's good.
mom, I guess it was like in a time and a her place, like to watch that and be obsessive about like next week is this, and she would do that. But I never got that into it. I mean, I'm not versed in it. I did watch it. I think, throughout my life, sometimes I found myself watching it, but I'm okay with that because I feel like what's nice about maybe not knowing everything is you can be more imaginative because when he hands me the script, it's obviously it's a new version of that, right? But same
Right.
same roots. And so I think not too long ago I watched the pilot episode to revisit it. But
Okay.
I try not to get too much in my head. Like I'm more big on like him having a conversation with him about what things mean and doing my own homework than like watching it all and filling my head with like what was. Does that make sense?
So you didn't
Um,
like watch the box set 12 times over
no,
to
no,
make sure
no,
that
no, no. We're about to
got
get into prep, so I'm not in prep officially yet, so I'm gonna have
okay.
to revisit that.
How long when the project's over, um, how hard is it to walk away with something? Um, Various people have like different a different process for how they let a project go once it's over. How long do you give yourself in between projects to even commit to another project and go through the process of like sitting with it, doing some research, and starting your notes? Like, have you done anything after Sinners before you started X Files, or
No, no, it's such a good question because I think because my husband's also a DP and he does movies, bigger movies as well, that and then, like I mentioned, my son,
Mhm.
I don't I don't want to work all the time, Like I'm not like a back to back to back person. I think Last Showgirl and Sinners, these are like my two best friends, so that had to happen like that. I wasn't gonna not do those ones, but it's not something that like I pour so much of myself into it, that it's very draining by the end of it. So I'm not even thinking about like calling my agent, like, what else you got for me? I'm not doing
oh,
that.
so you're not a stacker?
I'm not a stacker, yeah. But I do
Ah,
commercials.
I'm a stacker.
You're a stack. Well, you'd be, yeah, that's the thing. I think many people are. There are reasons why I'm not, but I also like fill it in with commercials. So, like, for instance, I finished Sinners, I'm back at home, and now I'm flying to Barcelona to shoot a soccer commercial. So I get to exercise, shooting. I'm not doing a narrative, which is my favorite, but because we get to do commercials in between, I've been doing commercials since Sinners wrapped. And the pilot, like our dates have shifted a bit. So the pilot I was supposed to, it's like when things shift, you kind of run with it. So I haven't put anything in front of that. But
Are commercials your version of me going to a jam session at a jazz club to try new things out?
yes, then you get to work with your friends, right? Your friend can call you like, come jam with me. And they're like, okay, I'll come jam with you for a week. So I sprinkle that in. Like I obviously we try not to stack movies on top of each other, like overlap each other because of, just logistics. But he was
Right.
on a like when I finished Sinners, he went off to do a movie in Latvia, and then I was home, with the dealing with the home front.
Got it.
So that helps, having a plan like that back and forth.
What is your other talent that's not film related?
Well, like I'm not super good at it, but my hobby?
Yeah, you know.
Tennis. I play tennis.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not like
So that
going pro or anything, but I find that like it's very helpful to me. Um,
got it.
like I have a coach, I'll go play. Like I'm going to go play after this.
I see. What is your go-to movie theater snack
Oh, popcorn and raisinets mixed together.
mixed together? Okay. What's the film that you've seen the most in your life?
Probably Heat.
I'm showing that for my birthday this year.
Oh, you are? Isn't it?
I rent out a movie theater um the Saturday before my birthday, and I curate um not a 24 hour but like a 16 to 17 hour all day film festival, like
Really?
cartoons
Very cool.
cartoons in the morning, and then a musical, whatever I liked in the 80s, something in the 90s, a gangster flick, and usually ends with like a really horrible B film or like that. How do you manage stress? Like what's your self-care routine?
Um, I like to be, I'm a homebody because I spend so much time outside. Like I just did that film festival. I'll push myself to go do things because I think they're important. Um, and like being at that festival, as a representative, they had me there. They gave me like I was part of a panel, but also the students that were there. Like I was texting Ryan and I was telling him, I was like, I could, I could count on two hands how many Black women came up to me and said, thank you for what you do. And they wanted to meet me. Like that was unheard of, like on two hands. So I had more than five. And they were lovely students. And then when I have those experiences, it makes me go, you know what? This is why I'm going to go out and talk. This is why I'm going to do the interviews because some girl is going to read it and it's going to be something that is important to her. Um, and so all that stress, because you got to stack all this stuff, you know how it is for this time and period, it's worth it. And I do see Ryan doing that too. He's very inspirational in that regard, where like he gives a lot of people his time and energy and also his family. He's a great family person and I see that in him.
Mhm.
So I want to extend that as well because I've been given this opportunity that many people do not get. So my self-care is I'll do all the stuff, but then when it's time to rest, I like to be in my home by myself. If my son's at school or whatever it is, but I need alone time. I need some space and time for myself, or I'll go play tennis. Tennis is my, yeah. But if I'm on set and I'm stressed, um, someone might, I might get upset, yell at somebody, go have a cigarette, maybe something like that.
This has been really educational, and I thank you for giving me the honor of this
Oh,
conversation.
mine as
I'm
well.
such a fan of
Thank
your
you so
work,
much.
and I hope to one day to work with you.
Very cool. I would
Because
like
I'm a
that.
stacker. I have like at least
You got a
six.
stack of shit that you need to do.
I am. I'm definitely working until like 2032. So I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Autumn Arkapaw. Am I pronouncing that
Yeah,
correctly?
it's actually well, you could say Arkapaw. I think
Arkapaw.
it's my husband's last name, but they changed it. It's Archipov, but when they immigrated they changed it to Arkapaw, you know?
Okay.
But yes, Arkapaw.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for talking on the Questlove show. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you on the next go round. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Questlove show is hosted by me, Amir Questlove Thompson. The executive producers are Sean G., Brian Calhoun, and me. Produced by Brittany Benjamin and Jake Payne. Produced for iHeart by Noel Brown. Edited by Alex Conroy. iHeart Video support by Mark Canton. Logos, graphics, and animation by Nick Aloe. Additional support by Lance Coleman. Special thanks to Kathy Wrong. Special thanks to Sugar Steve Mandel. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share the Questlove Show wherever you stream your podcast. Make sure you follow us on socials. That's at QLS. Check out hundreds and hundreds of QLS episodes, including the Questlove Supreme shows in our podcast archives. Questlove Show is a production of iHeartRadio.